meditation. Oh my goodness, meditation. So this we if this year 2024 is my 51st year of meditating. So that does not mean I meditated every single day, but it does mean it's always been with me. So I've learned various techniques over the years from Tibetan monks, from very high Vedanta teachers, from shamans, from psychics, from, oh my gosh, just a whole lot of different individuals. And it's a big part of my life. One thing to remember is like when we were just talking about that we live in this Kali Yuga age, is that we don't concentrate like we have been apparently in other lives. It's very difficult to concentrate when the vibrations in the world right now, like I said, are so difficult that they can be just downright dangerous. So our ability to meditate is far more difficult. So in each yuga, you know how I was talking to you about there's these yugas that span thousands of years, and the age that we're in is called the Kali Yuga, the age of untruth, the worst of times. In this age, it's nearly impossible to really meditate. Nearly. So in each yuga, there is a way that is most beneficial to be able to take us to this state of becoming enlightened, whatever the heck that really is. I certainly look forward to it. But in order to get there, in this particular age, the type of meditation, so to speak, that's for our highest and best good and the easiest to be able for us to do is called Nama Smarana. Nama Smarana. A lot of A's in that word. Nama Smarana. So what that means is it means chanting the name of God. So repetition of the name of God. Okay, what's God's name? It doesn't matter if it's buddy. I mean, it doesn't really matter what word that you use. It is about you having this feeling, this reverberation inside of you. So it's a mantra. So mine is Om Sri Sai Ram, which means Om. I take delight in chanting the name of the Divine Mother. That's mine. So I say mine in Sanskrit, but you don't have to say it in Sanskrit. We have English, which is a perfectly viable language. So yours can be something as remarkably simple as God is love, I am love. God is peace, I am peace. And as you are going through your day, I chant quite a lot in my car because I am a commuter. So when I'm in my car, you know, it's not always easy on the I-5. So when I'm in my car, I like to do my chant. And I do different ones, but I have the one that is very solid in me that I continue to use. And practitioners of Namasmarana, teachers, have said that the more that you practice this, eventually it begins to go on its own inside of yourself, whether you're actually consciously repeating it or not. I say this to you because I think it was 26, 27 years ago. I went to a Vipassana 10-day meditation retreat. If some of you may know about that, it's 10 days of 10 hours of meditation for 10 days. And it's quiet. You don't bring books to read. You don't bring things to write. There's no activities where there's a lot of exercise. It's just about being completely still, very, very quiet. And while I was there doing that, and they don't do chants. And so while I was there, guess what I heard? My mantra. I'm like, oh dear. Oh, is this right or is this wrong? So my intellect was getting in the way. Is this, should I don't know. So you could sign up to have a little chat with the teacher at the end of the day, so you could speak just with him, but you weren't allowed to speak to anyone else. And that means no sign language or anything like that. It means actually not communicating with others. So I went and expressed to him that I had been saying this mantra for quite some time, and that during my meditation with Vipassana, that I kept hearing it. What do you think about that? And he said to me, stop it. And I'm like, well, he must not have really paid attention to what I said. He must not really get that this is really happening for me. So I explained it in a different way, that this was happening. And he said, stop it. So I just was, gracious about it and walked away. I thought to myself, hell no, hell no. I learned a big lesson. I didn't trust myself. The way that I do it isn't necessarily the way other people are going to do it. There is a way for every person, is why I'm telling you this story. His way was perfect for him, truly. And I accept that. And he taught me that my way was perfectly acceptable for me. So I encourage you to try different ways, because in this yoga, it's very difficult to sit. You can say, oh, I sit for an hour a day, but chances are, maybe 40 to 50 of those minutes, you're chasing your mind around. That is not sitting. It's not going to really help you in the way that you think. But if you do have um, some way to help you throughout the day, so I began by talking to you about chanting. Chanting is one of those things that you can do while you are working. Maybe you're a barista. You can chant. God is love, love is God. God is love, love is God. Psh. When you give that coffee to that person, it has those vibrations in it. Now you can be doing them, making their coffee for them, and thinking, oh crap, this is so awful. I can't believe he's not even helping me. Here's your coffee. Those vibrations go into that coffee. And then that person drinks that coffee, and then they go to work and they're like, hey, we spread ourselves all day long to one another, all day long. So chanting affirmations, mantras, prayers, quotes that you really have loved, that you feel like you can live with and live by. These are things that you can do throughout the day. And it sets it so that as you're practicing throughout the day, perhaps when you get home, you still feel a little zzz, kind of like that buzz from working, that little zzz that's going on. And you can actually spend 10 minutes being quiet. But if you don't practice throughout the day something to help to quiet your mind, when you go to sit in the evening, it's going to be really, really difficult. And then let's say you don't do it in the evening because you're like, it's the end of the day. I'm just too wired. I can't do this. Blah, blah. So then you go to bed, you have a restless sleep. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, okay, yeah, I can sit for 10 minutes. I don't have time for that. I'll have to do it later. Maybe I could do it at lunch or something. You see, we just keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. I don't know why we do that. We could analyze it till the cows come home, but we all know that we do this. We put off what's good for us and we indulge in what's bad for us. I don't think it really requires a whole lot of intellectualizing, just observance, just observance. So the thing though is that if you can practice during the day, it's really, really useful. So maybe right now you can't do 10 minutes of sitting, perfectly legitimate. So the yogis tell us that we have like about 7 or 9 seconds that we can actually think about one thing. So some of you know this, I did this thing for a while. I go through phases where I do things and then I let it go and I go back to it, but I have my 911 kit. I have a lot of different things that I like to do. But I did go through this phase where I would look at my teacher's picture right before I would leave home to go to work. The last thing I did before I would walk out the door, I did that. And I learned to observe this in myself. I don't have time for this. I got to get out there before the traffic gets bad. I could feel my body wanting to get out the door. No idea. I had no idea that that was like that until I was to stand and look at this picture for 10 seconds. Couldn't do it. And I practiced it until I started to get it better. And then I went on to something else because I have other things that I do. And there's going to be meditation teachers that are going to tell you that what I just said, don't do that. Don't change, don't experiment, don't do any of that. Just pick one thing and stay with it. Please do whatever it is that you want to do. Don't let me make suggestions to you that make you feel like you should do it this way. And if any other person is telling you you have to do it a particular way, you listen to your heart, you listen to your intuition. You be your best teacher. You be your best teacher. When it comes to meditation, you're in your hands, nobody else's hands. You have to find your way back to peace and how to be able to regenerate peace. So, of course, having a sitting practice is a very, very good thing to do, but I go by this way of looking at things. When you sit to do a practice, your mind really has a lot of bad thoughts in it, thoughts of whatever they may be. So you go to sit and do your practice, and it's really, really difficult because those thoughts are still quite there. Even if you're doing it in the morning, those thoughts are still there. It's not like they disappeared because you were sleeping. They're being reawakened all throughout the day. So what you might want to just remember this little thing here is bad thoughts want to elevate bad thoughts to good thoughts. So how do we do that? Because you have bad thoughts, we want to elevate them to good thoughts, and then from good thoughts come no thoughts. But you can't get to no thoughts from bad thoughts. You can really spend some time trying to make me wrong about that. And I think it's a great experiment. And I encourage you to do it. But I think that you'll find that the reason I'm saying this to you is because what you can do is if you have some very wonderful, deep spiritual books, maybe you have one, maybe you have 100. But we're gonna say in the morning, one of the things that you can do is go to your bookshelf and let yourself intuitively pick out a book. And get into that space to where you know you're communing. You're communing with the divine force. And you ask for the best passage that will help you through your day. You can thumb, you can open it up. I do this every single day. Every single day. Some of my books are in pieces. Because I've used them so much. Here's the first half and here's the second half. It still works. You can tell I just love it. I love what's in it, and it's all right with me. So sometimes I'm like, should I open the first half or the second half? So I say this to you so you know that this is my practice. So the reason I do this is because, of course, there's lingering self-doubts and criticisms and going on in my mind. So I really want to have my devotional time be as sacred as possible. So I begin with finding this passage to ponder on. So after I read the passage, I'm usually like in this space where I go, oh, exactly what I needed. And then I tease myself and say, you say that every day. And I do. But it touches me, it touches me that the truth is always available. We just have to feel the urge and follow through with the urge to indulge in bliss. Don't cheat yourself. Let yourself indulge in these very deep kinds of teaching. And even when I sit down to do this, I make myself a cup of tea, and I like yogi tea, and they have the little sayings on the little thing, and I even read my little saying there, to go, and I use it as a passage for my day too, because I feel every single thing is related. To me, everything is related. So you can say, well, you can read signs and everything. Sure. But why? Let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel the relationship you have with that tea bag, the relationship that you have with that particular passage in that book on that particular day. Let yourself feel what's going on there, the relationship between you and your environment, between you and your body, between you and your thoughts. Meditation is about really coming to this place where our minds can rest so deeply that we can actually feel peace moving through us. So my choice of doing this with a reading like that for myself, and sometimes I take a picture of it so that then I take it with me. So then sometimes at lunch or when I have a moment, I pull it back out and I read it and I'm like, oh yeah, 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 that's where I want to be. And I come back to it to remind myself this is my guide for the day. So I commit myself to it, you know? So I feel committed to me by staying with this because it's my practice. And without commitment, we can't practice as deeply as we would like to practice. So then I do some little breathing kinds of things that I like to do that I'm going to talk to you about breathing in a moment. And then I do my silent meditation. And then after that, then I do a series of prayers. By the time I get to those, I don't think this will shock you too much. I usually have a cry. Oh, I even feel like it right now. Mm, because it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. So these tears are called bhakti tears. It's a kind of tear that we have when we think about the divine. So it has like feelings of sadness and exquisite beauty and compassion and hurt, and it has so many different things, but they all happen all at the same time, and it just kind of wells up inside and wants to just express itself. And then when I'm done with all that, then I have a little breath that I do there too, and then off I go to get ready to come to work. So it helps me to I maybe remember this cereal when we were children. It was called Wheaties, the breakfast of champions. Well, my practice is my breakfast of champions. I have tea with the yogis in the morning. And I think of them as my nearest and dearest friends. They're my beloveds. So I carry them with me by reading their words, by bringing it into me, by committing to practicing it, not worried about how much I'm going to fail, because that's all right. It's all right. If the commitment is there, you will continue, you know? So with a spiritual practice, with meditation, you want to have commitment. You don't want to be ambitious. You don't want to set goals for yourself. Well, in 5 weeks, I'm going to be doing it this much and da 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 da. No, we all have a unique quality to us. Some of us are going through an incredibly difficult time, a time where we're filled with anxiety or depression, um, or a time when we just feel lost. And so, we're not all having the same starting line when you sit to do a practice and people say in 6 weeks you get here and whatever. Just forget all of that. You take your time. You take your time and commit for life. So as you wander away, of which I understand how that happens, you find your way back because you find yourself missing your practice more than you missed any lover you ever had. And it draws you back, and you never want to leave it again. You find yourself doing it again. But that pull to come back to that sweet love that never harmed you, never called you any names, never shamed you, never ignored you, was always there, always waiting for you to come back. And there's something so deep and so beautiful that why resist it? A meditation practice teaches you to love the divine, not only feel being loved by the divine, but to love the divine, to know that the divine is within you and that you carry that. And it makes you stronger. It makes you be able to resist name calling and excessive criticisms and downward spirals, because you're committed to this feeling of it's like being in love. It really is like being in love, except it will never hurt you. It will never leave you. It will never tell you you're not enough. It will never say to you, I'm not in love with you anymore. You have nothing to be afraid of. It's this magnificent love that's always been there, and now you're consciously experiencing it. My form of meditation is more bhakti. It's more devotional. It's important for you to know that about me because there's so many different ways to meditate, of which we're going to be talking about. But I wanted to come first to let you know how I am and how I do things so that you understand you have to find your own way that accommodates how you are. So for me, it's this devotional practice. So people say, well, this is an idol. What do you think? Do you think that your God lives in that piece of wood? Well, of course. And I think my God lives in here and under here and in my cauldron cup. Of course. This is an image of a vibration. And as my eyes fall upon this image of Ganesha, he is representative of a vibration that exists in this universe that removes obstacles. So this vibration, this being is very important to me. Ganesha and I have talks every single day, sometimes multiple times during the day. So do I believe that he lives someplace in another dimension? Well, of course. Do I believe he lives in the dimension of my heart? Well, of course. It's too big for me to understand, so I don't worry about it. I don't need all of those details. I know what I feel. I know what I intuit. And I intuit that this vibration, by focusing on it with my outer eyes, just alerts me to it's always with me anyway. So when people talk in a very degrading way about, they call it idol worship, because they think that they think very shallow thoughts. So they say these shallow things, and it's not what it is. This is a mirror that this is part of me. This vibration is part of me. It's too difficult for me to analyze, and I don't need to anyway. It'll take away from the exquisite beauty. Like, have you ever been stood in front of a painting that just moved you? When you get moved like that, you're not like, I wonder what the kind of cobalt is that they were using there, or what was that structure? I wonder how many brushes they went through. No. You have this feeling, and what happens is you and the painting are one. Even though the painting's on the wall, you're feeling it in here because whoever painted it, they had a feeling, and you resonate with it. You have the same feeling, and that painting woke up that feeling inside of you. Or you hear a particular type of music. One time when I was coming back from India after I'd been there for a month on this particular time. And on my way back, the little headphones that you can listen to, and they had a channel for some reason or another that had this gentleman, a Muslim gentleman, singing. It was just his voice. I don't know what he was singing, but his heart touched my heart. And I listened to it the entire way home. I couldn't resist. I didn't want to resist. I was perplexed in the beginning, and then I thought, oh, so what? Listen to it. I'd go to sleep, then I'd get up and have my meal, go back to sleep, but I kept them on. And it was moving. It was like we were in love, not with each other, but with what he was singing about. So it has this form of bliss. So I'm sharing these things with you so that you can find your way, so that you can be more imaginative on how to bring peace into your life, because a sitting practice is what we all associate with meditation, and it certainly is. But everything that I'm telling you about too is also meditation. It's in the form of bhakti, or devotional meditation. And you can see how there can be this spiritual intellectuality where this kind is the best. No, this kind is the best. No, don't let that come into your mind. There's a lot of different ways that will suit a lot of different temperaments. My temperament is just more in this way. It's always been this way. I've always been a devotional person in this way. But not everybody is. Not everybody enjoys that. So again, I wanted today to share with you how I do it. So throughout the day, Ganesh and I like to travel together. So when I'm in my car, he's always with me, my little passenger here. And somebody's on the side of the road right away. I'm driving and I'm like, Ganesha, kindly remove the obstacles to that person's circumstances and their peace, peace, peace. I keep my eyes open. I'm showing it to you with my eyes closed. But I assure you, my eyes are open, my eyes are on the road. And I do see this person over here. And so I asked to send them help. Why not? Did it take from me? No. I know that I've been in that situation, and it's always a lovely thing to be able to know that somebody is sending you help, sending you love, sending you peace. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's felt, it's real. I know this is really the hard part is, okay, yeah, but what good does it really do? You're in your car, you're gone. Everything matters because remember, everything's in relationship with everything else. I could look at them and go, too bad about you. Keep going. That vibration will go to them. And what else will happen with that vibration? It'll go to them, it'll affect them, and it'll return back to me. So this practice that I'm telling you about, this devotional way of doing things like this, actually helps you to mitigate your karma. Because we all come in with karmas, and then the karmas that we came in with mix with how we are today. And you can actually, you still have to go through the things that you brought with you. You still have to go through things. But if you stay on the spiritual path in the sense that you work to help yourself to become strongly rooted in peace, it can diminish the rough edges of your karma so that you go through it in a more smooth way where you're not quite so harmed by it. It isn't so traumatic for you. But we all have things that we do have to go through that began in lifetimes that we have no memory of. Those are those things when we're like, why did that have to happen to me? And it makes us feel like it's unfair and there's nothing, but these things all have their basis in another place and time. And please understand that I'm being very careful about this because I know that most people think in terms of reward and punishment. And there are people who go through heinous things. It does not mean that they were a heinous person. Try to remember that. This is much deeper than simple intellectualizing. So meditation is about helping us to go from bad thoughts to good thoughts to no thoughts. So this particular type that I'm showing you has to do with learning to take your bad thoughts and then replace them with something very deep and spiritual, like through some type of a spiritual reading that you can do. Contemplate on that, sit for 10 minutes, and it's all right for you to think because you're going to think. You are. You're not going to just go into a space of no thoughts for merely 10 minutes. It's okay. It's the practice of going from bad thoughts to good thoughts to no thoughts. So we're going to do this together. Okay, so I have this interesting book here. It's actually about avatars, which we're not going to get into today. We have lots of time to get into that. Whoops. So I'm going to pick something for us to contemplate on. Oh, so the page that I turned to has to do with one of the oldest prayer mantra songs ever, the Gayatri. Some of you may have heard of the Gayatri. It's sung. It is a song. But it's not a song. But what it is it's about, as you can see, when I talk about these things, it's hard for me to find the right words because I feel like as soon as I say something to you about what it is, it just it's just not enough. It's just not there. So I'm asking you to listen to this intuitively. So I have to tell you a couple words before I tell you, because I'm going to tell you this what this says. So a mala is like a round japa prayer. So you know what mala beads are? Japa mala beads. They're prayer beads. If you were raised Catholic, they're the rosary. Prayer beads exist in religions all over the world, and it's a way of chanting, and that you're helping yourself to have no other thought, but you're using your body as well as your voice. And you can make your own rosary, if you like this. I've done it before. We even did a class on it before too. You assign a prayer to each bead and you pull it through. And what it does is it helps you to be able to focus just on that. The Tibetan Buddhists do it too. So it's a really wonderful way to get all of your senses and your body to cooperate with you so that you're not thinking about a bunch of junk. So the Gayatri is um, he says, at least one mala of japa prayers you must do daily without a break. It will guard you from all dangers, give you infinite strength to overcome all obstacles, and take you to the very pinnacle of splendor, power, peace, and bliss. So the Gayatri is so powerful that it can actually protect us from danger, because our minds are focused on such a deep spiritual prayer that it permeates out from us, and that permeation can actually keep us safe. It isn't the only one that can do that. It just happens to be what came up today intuitively, and I trust it's correct. I'm not going to be like, well, let's find another one. Something that's a little easier. Let's see, maybe we could find. No, this is what's in front of us. My mother used to say when we were children, "Ah, I know you don't want to have this, but this is what's for dinner. This is what's for meditation today." So I'm going to do the Gayatri for you. I didn't think I was going to do that. It's best to do it 3 times in a row. And when I do it, it's going to be in Sanskrit, and you're going to be like, what in the world is she saying? But as I do it, before I do it, I want us to, first of all, we're going to do 3 ohms together. And then after the 3 ohms, I want you to be very, very quiet and just close your eyes. And I'm going to do this Gayatri mantra 3 times. Okay. And then at the very end, you'll hear me say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And then that means come back to me. Okay. So make sure that, remember, a couple things to remember about any meditation that you do is you have to understand that they all have some very basic things. And one of it is to make sure that you're sitting straight so that your spine is nice and straight, right? That's one thing. And make sure that you have your hands someplace where, either on your thighs, or you have them like this, or you have them however it is that you want to do. But make sure that, that you're sitting straight and that you're aware of your breath. Right now, we're not going to change our breath. We're not going to do any sort of deep breathing right now for this one. We're just going to let ourselves really relax and really enjoy breathing. Breathe. My formula is long and slow. We're just going to practice long and slow. So I'm just going to ask you to be really, really quiet, and let us do 3 ohms together. Oh. 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 Om Bhurbhuva Suvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodaya. Om Bhurbupa Suvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbupa Suvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Stay very still. Very kindly listen to my voice. We are deeply grateful for all that we have received, and we kindly offer it out to help, to alleviate the suffering of all sentient beings. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. Peace, peace, peace. Kindly take your time, move gently, open your eyes at will. Kind of like a good night's sleep, wasn't it? So, throughout this next month, I encourage you to consider practicing devotional practice. You decide what that means, how that looks like to you. And throughout this whole year, we'll try on different ways of doing this so that there's something there that will help you to find your way home every day. Find your way home. No matter how far you stray away from yourself, spiritual practice will always make you remember where you live, where your home is, where your love is, where your protection is. And I thank you with all of my heart for meditating with me today. Peace be with you. Namaste.